I'm doing a bit of painting on this self-portrait. I have been kind of working on it on and off for the last couple of days, and I thought I would just share with you a little bit of it, because I'm trying out something a little bit different, I suppose. I'm kind of working, I first was working from just looking in the mirror, and then I found this drawing that I did last year, so I'm working from that, and this one as well a little bit, because I wanted to include something of these almost like little, I don't know, the colourful shapes and things. Something like it's something like a feeling of kind of fizzing aliveness or something that I wanted to capture there. So that's what this is about. So I'll just do a little bit more, and it's so late now. I've not looked at the time. I don't know. You know, it could be into the early hours of the morning, to be honest. I'm not sure. But I'm just going to do a little bit more, because you know how sometimes if you keep going with something, you kind of get a bit trigger happy and stop making good decisions. And I feel like I could be on the verge of that, so I'm just going to do a few more minutes. It's quite mesmerizing, this carry-on. I'm just using watercolor. But yeah, it's quite a pleasing kind of a task, you know, just putting on colours and lifting off, you know, eating into some of the darker colours and putting on brighter colours on top, and just finding a way of making it kind of a layered, giving it a layered feel. And like there's different layers of, I suppose, do you know what it is? Kind of coloured orbs is what it feels like. Something like that. Nose is a little bit weird, I think Erin was saying there. She thinks it's a little bit strange, the nose, so I might have a bit of work to do operationally tomorrow. We'll see. But for now, I'm not making any big decisions like that. I'm going to just keep going with some of these lighter colours. This is yellow. I ended up finding colours that I hadn't used for a while, a box of watercolour paint tubes, and it was really quite nice then to break into some different colours. So that colour on my shoulder there is green gold, which is quite a pleasing colour to use, and I've got new blues and reds and stuff as well. Don't know the names of all of them, but it's been nice to play with other greens. And actually I do know that's phthalo green that I've used in a few places, that little patch there. Yeah, so I had an image on the, what I've been doing is taking photographs of it as I've been painting, and then looking at the photograph on the iPad, although I'm using the iPad now to record, of course. But I've been looking at the photo on the iPad and then deciding where I need to go next, and I had considered that there needed to be something happening here, so that's what I'm focusing on, that direction. I'm always telling myself that, because I'd forgotten in my enthusiasm to kind of connect with you. I'd forgotten what my purpose was altogether. Okay, but now I remember. Actually, I want to do this because this is what the way I've been holding it all along. So sorry if it makes it wonky for you now, but I just want to be able to see clearly. This is a really nice pinky colour I've been using. Actually, it's not the one I thought it was. But it's a nice pink too. I just noticed there's a time-lapse thing. My friend was telling me about that, and I forgot to experiment with it again. Because I think time-lapse would be quite a good way for me to paint, wouldn't it, on video? you know how sometimes my videos go on for a very long time, and if I was to set up the time lapse thing, sure, I could do a whole painting in a few minutes. So I might try that sometimes. Mind you, I'd still need to talk to you, because I still feel like that keeps me going sometimes. Right, so this is the red I was, or sorry, the kind of more pinky colour that I was saying I love. There. It's like a real cerise. You maybe can't see it very clearly there. I actually turned off the light when I turned on the video because it was just bleaching out the colour on the video, so you weren't able to see at all what I was doing. But I missed the light a little bit now because it was quite nice having the focus of the brightness on the face. I need to, I don't know if you're like this, but sometimes it's not so drastic this evening now, but sometimes I need to give myself a pep talk, like all the time, saying, yeah, it's okay. You know, as soon as I notice any negative kind of lines coming into my head, I kind of straight away try to nip them in the bud, because the main thing, as with anything really in life, I think, is it's kind of keeping the morale up. And that's one of the main things, isn't it? And so I try and nip any negativity in the bud if I can. And in this instance, like, there's no need to be focusing on what ifs. It's only a painting, and it's quite a nice thing to experiment. And if it doesn't work out, what's the worst that can happen, you know? That's what I was talking to myself about earlier. And I was saying, you know, what is working out anyway? It's all it's all useful information, whatever happens. It's Maisie now in the kitchen, probably eating something off the worktop. Maisie, or trying to catch the cat. I don't really trust her in there on her own, you know. But there's nothing too gourmet for her to be stealing off the worktop anyway. Yeah, I've been enjoying the yellow, the gold yellow. I think it's cadmium yellow. A bit wary to do too much because I can't see it very clearly in this light. I've been a lot more upbeat the last few days. Maybe it's just mostly today, I don't know. I went and met some friends for brunch at the Restoration Yard in Dalkeith. Dalkeith is near us, near Edinburgh, where I'm living. And it's a fantastic spot. And the women I met, like there was maybe 10 of us. Lovely, lovely people. And it was my first social outing in a while. Aside from the book group, I suppose, a couple of weeks ago, which was also really nourishing. And you know, it makes a big difference just to have a chat and to hear other people chatting. You know, the simple recognition. And then when I came back, what I was going to say is a simple recognition that we're all the same, really. In the end, we all have our struggles and triumphs and all the rest of it. And good to have a bit of a laugh. When I came back, then I started listening, because I was painting, I started listening to Krista Tippett on Being, the On Being podcast, On Being, and she was interviewing Glennon Doyle, who's she's a fantastic woman altogether. I had been meaning to listen to her for a while. A few people had said to me, you know, she's really fabulous. She spoke about you know, when you are up close to people, it's really hard not to love them. Like when you get close to most people, she said that's the natural response, really. I guess that's a fairly sweeping statement, and I'm sure she said it slightly differently. But yeah, up close it is tricky not to really dislike people, I think. Anyway, but that was like a follow-on from the lovely kind of wholehearted brunch I had this morning. I actually ended up on the way home, because we stayed for a couple of hours. I was hungry again. And I actually stopped for a coffee on the way home and a piece of cake. It was really nice. I'd forgotten I can just do stuff for myself. It's funny, isn't it? I used to do that all the time, like, you know. And then because they were all looking lovely as well, well manicured and everything, I kind of thought, I could do a bit more now to look after myself that way, like. And I thought, I'll book a hairdresser this week, because I haven't had a haircut for, I think, 2 years maybe. And I thought, it'd be a lot more manageable to have shorter hair, and I would like to do something nice with my hair, like, and various other things that I haven't cleaned, I haven't put moisturiser in my skin for, sorry, this is like descending into a self-care kind of thing. But I haven't actually done anything to my skin for a while either, I think that swimming in the reservoir must be quite good actually for blood flow, and probably that's maybe better than any moisturiser, I don't know. But I do want to as well. I'm heading away on retreat this weekend, and I'd like to prepare a little bit that way too. Decide what I'm going to be wearing, and it's called Emerge, the retreat, and we're suggesting that we bring really comfy clothes, but something sparkly too, for the stepping into the queen energy, So there you have it. You might see a fully renovated Anya on video next week. Well, I think I will be changed somehow from the, these retreats. They're not, they're no small thing. I booked it about a year ago, I think. So, let's see what happens. Right. I think it's okay that I'm kind of chatting and not really, and just kind of motoring around here. My nose is a little bit strange. I can maybe do that in the morning. I'll put a bit of green into the nose. Or even maybe this, I think it's phthalo blue maybe, or Prussian blue. Let's see, where am I going to do that now? I think I'm going to put some here. There's a thing known as fractal patterns. I don't know if that's a thing. That's the word that came into my mind as I was doing these things. I don't know if you want to look it up, because it seems like a good word to describe these broken bits of coloured, broken, floating orbs of colour. When I say broken, I mean like not stuck to anything. Fractal patterns, is that a thing? See, I've been doing lots of colourful things. I was saying to Erin there, I've been really loving colour, And then I started this painting of myself, and sure, I've done so many paintings of myself. I thought maybe I could do a bit more. I'm doing a video, It's okay. I could do a bit more of a coloured one. Margot's on the couch, seriously? Oh no, in the kitchen. I I think Maisie might be in the kitchen too, Erin. I think Maisie's in the kitchen as well, maybe. Is she out there? Okay. So anyway, I've been doing enough. I've got quite a few self-portraits, and I wanted to try some. I wanted to excite myself, surprise myself by doing something different. I was talking to somebody today at the brunch actually about that. She said, "Are you still surprised? Are you surprised by what you do?" And I thought, it's a very good question, because it feels like that's all I am is surprised. That's what makes me inspired to paint and draw and stuff like that, and work in mixed media especially, is to feel surprise at what happens, like to want to show up in a curious, to show up with an attitude of curiosity and willingness and a kind of an excitement to see what it'll be today now. That thing of not knowing, I guess. When I say what it'll be today, you swear I was painting every single day. And I do some little bit of something every day, I guess, but as in some bit of creative stuff, some every day. But when I consider it with care and think about what it is that draws me to paint, it is that thing of wanting to be surprised, like Mary Oliver, rules for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. I guess as a poet you may tell about it in words, and for me I'm telling about it in colour. Because it is astonishing. Yesterday my God, the sky was stunning. The sky was like a deep, dark, broody blue, like really blue. And then there was all of the amazing copper-coloured trees meeting that blue. And the copper orange, like bright gold orange, against this brooding blue was a real sight to behold. Like, it was lovely. It was the business, yeah. Oh, purple. I think I made purple over there. So I'm making purple. We're mixing some lovely pink and ultramarine together. So that pink I had been using there, mixed with ultramarine blue, is giving me a purple that I'm going to put in here. And I can let it dry, I'd say, and in the morning I might do a bit more in that. It's good to take stock every so often and see what it is and what's happening. And then it's also lovely to get lost in it. And then again it's the old spiraling in, spiraling out, isn't it? That thing of going from the general to the particular and then back to the general again. Also to leave a bit alone for a while, like isn't there something about God says leave it? God says, leave a bit of room in your life, like a garden, leave some weeds in order that Creator can have space. I can't remember the exact quote. Anyway, but it's like not filling everything out to the edges and not feeling like I can leave things well enough for a while, come back. Doesn't have to all be resolved every time. It's kind of nice tipping away at it, actually. It reminds me of that Cézanne quote, he said, "My painting holds hands and comes up together." It feels quite a nice thing to feel like there's a tension, there's energy alive on the whole surface, whether it's being worked up or not. It's like part of the mix at every move. It's also it also has a role, even the white bits in the there's room, and it's all necessary. The breathing space, I suppose, too, as well as the intense areas of colour. That's kind of fun. And then some blue there. Try to follow where I feel like putting the colour, and just to trust that wherever it is just where it's meant to be, and it's fine. And it's lovely to have that decisiveness and not to be second guessing every move. And there's discernment comes in now and then, but it's the space around it, it doesn't feel like a critical thing that has to be decided upon urgently. As though, a fork in the road, as though you have to go one way or the other. It's actually a different feeling to that. It's like a playful thing where you're kind of able to experiment and try out different things, and if it doesn't work out, for God's sake, it's fine. You could even go over with a different colour tomorrow, or lift off, or, it's all okay, basically, which is a lovely feeling. Now I've got the edge of my hand dirty, and I've made some of this area dirty, so this is me practicing when I'm preaching now. It's all okay. Walk the talk, talk the walk. Right, so what I want to do there, I think, is I'll clean up the muddy-ish looking bits. And I can always, because over the yellow, yellow is easily adulterated, as they say. Over the yellow, those bits are a bit muddy looking. And again, I can always put a darker colour over that when it's dry. Just print off what I can there. And then with this, I think I'll just make a cleaner circle. Again. And I can come back to it. Oh, I left it off the blues well there. And just clean off the edges so it's not so it looks as though there's a design to it. It's not just an accident, which it actually was. Me squishing it with my hand. And then here, I want the clarity of that lovely cerise colour back, at least to create the circles anyway in that area. And it's not so obtrusive, that dark, but I can just spread it out a bit so it's not just a blob. I'm drying the brush to, when I go away from you there, I'm just doing this, drying it off, because the damp brush lifts more easily. The drier brush is what I want to lift here. Need a bit more water on it though, because that's needing some more agitation, that dark bit. I think it'll need to be covered with a different colour if I want to really obliterate that dark patch there, because I can't lift off anymore. Some colours lift off very easily and other colours don't, and I don't really feel like I have to know which ones do and which ones don't. I just let it dictate, sometimes by accident, what happens. and inevitably mistakes or things like blobs and accidents like that lead to other things happening. This is still a bit damp now, so I'm taking a risk here. I just want to inject a bit more of that cerise colour. Isn't colour fantastic? I just love the feeling I get from, I get a lovely feeling in my belly sometimes, and I just place down a bright pink beside a bright orange. And it just feels glorious, you know. There was a lovely rainbow trying to come out today when I was out walking with Maisie. And it's a similar feeling to seeing a rainbow in the sky. There was a really bright double rainbow last week, and that was stunning to see. And that's one of the things that remind me of that belly feeling I get when I'm painting. So I guess it's related to colour. What am I doing now? And it's not only colour, but maybe actually moving too, like me being the instigator of it, my hands actually, you know, engaging, having that engagement with a thing that I'm making happen, pouring into the world something colourful. It's a fun thing, you know, even if you could maybe consider that it's not a beautiful thing, it's still a manifestation, like it's something. Movement, I suppose, is what it is. Movement. And it can be at least a stone on the road to beauty. Remember Jonathan, who's speaking about beauty and truth. He has a book. I mean, he's dead now. God rest his soul. Anyway, he had a book called Beauty, The Invisible Embrace. And in it he spoke about truth and beauty. And in science, he said the most beautiful, is it equations or like scientific kind of solutions? And the more true they were, the more beautiful they were. And truth and beauty seem to correlate. And like he would say things like, the face that isn't overburdened with symmetry can be beautiful too. I love that. I always think of Stephen Fry when I think of that line. The face that is not overburdened with symmetry can be beautiful too. So this isn't a kind of a glamorous beauty that he's talking about. And he would make that distinction clearly in that book, actually. It's more of an enduring beauty. And he said, at some point in our lives, everyone needs to hear the words, "You are beautiful." So that's you hearing it now from me today, right? You are beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's a true thing. Now, remember I put that down a few minutes ago there, and it's already dry enough that I can lift out some little circles from the bigger circle. That was what I was thinking of doing when I put down the bigger blob there. I thought, maybe I'll do some little shapes into that when it's dry enough. And I can always fill in the colours. Fill in some different colours now that I've lifted out. all going well, I'll have something to put into the watercolour exhibition in Edinburgh. It's in the Royal Academy on Princess Street in Edinburgh. And I need to get somebody else to take it in for me, because do you know what? My retreat is at the weekend, and that's the handing in day. So I'll do something and I'll frame it and get somebody to hand it in for me. That's my endeavour for the week. It's great that things are moving again. I had a feeling of, it's not so much stuckness, but part of me wanting to really move and part of me holding back. It was like a push-pull friction, so I felt like I was kind of wading through mud to get anything done, and things needed to be done, like. Sometimes that's the way, isn't it? But it feels now as though that's moved on, and there's a different feeling, at least in the moment. I'm sure every moment's different, I suppose, but in this moment there's a feeling of creative movement and ease, a bit more ease. I'm wanting to put some green, so I'm mixing some phthalo green with lemon yellow. I want to make a nice bright green for this side. Not sure if I've succeeded. It's not that bright, is it? I could always put a bit more lemon yellow into the middle of it. Let's see, you can't even see the part I was just doing there. I just put on those two bits of green. I lift off the middle to make it a bit lighter. And then there's these darks here. I lift off the middle of that one too. I'm going to put a dark phthalo green in there, just to make it a different dark from the colour that was there before. I don't know, can you hear me at all? I'm really sorry. I'm sure, and I know myself, it's frustrating when you can't hear people properly. So I hope that I've not been fierce low the whole time. I did even bring down my microphone, but to be honest with you, I never even thought I'd get this far, because I thought there was no charge left in the iPad, but it's going strong still. It's still recording, yeah. Jeepers, half an hour. Can't believe I've been half an hour talking to you. I was thinking you probably can believe it. I'm just substituting Lily's sarcastic carry on now, because she's not here today. She's gone to her friend's birthday party. And they're actually having a sleepover tonight, so there's a few of them together. So I'll not see her till tomorrow. So there'll be no rude interruptions to this video. Right. You know, I started this painting in the daylight, and I'm reluctant to do any drawing or fixing of my face really until I'm back in daylight again, because it might change things too much to be working in art, you know, in the overhead light, to look at myself in the mirror with electric light rather than the natural light. Now I'm sitting in the living room here, and today and every day there's a light from both sides because there's two windows. But it's actually really quite nice, because while I can see both sides of my face, one side is always brighter, and so it's a nice light in here. I love the living room for that reason, that it's got a window on either side, and in the winter time especially, you know, when the sun is low in the sky, it shines right in. So I've moved the couch now, and I can sit by the window and bathing in the sunlight and have my afternoon tea or whatever, midnight feast or whatever it is I'm having. Midnight feast wouldn't get much sunshine though, would it? Talking nonsense now. But actually the main thing I do in the morning still is I go for my swim at the reservoir, and that's often in sunshine, blazing sunshine sometimes. Even although it's November, there is heat in that sun, you know. And I've started, when I come out of the water, I've started to stay in my togs like until I'm dry, and I just kind of walk around in the woods there a bit, because I don't feel cold when I come out first, and it's a very invigorating thing to let the sun drench my skin. It's lovely. And I'm sure here in Scotland, I've heard from a few folk recently again that the vitamin D levels are important to keep up when we're living somewhere like, you know, Edinburgh, where the light fades at 4:30, pretty much dark at 4:30 now, 4 o'clock really. So yeah, these are a little bit like baubles, but you know, it's fun. It feels fun to me, and I don't mind if it looks a bit childlike. I don't mind that. We all have different parts of ourselves that need satisfied, don't we? It's quite nice to open to all of these parts, I think. I'm talking to myself because sometimes I'd be giving out to myself for not doing things that are considered professional, or I can't believe I still have that attitude sometimes, you know, because I resist it so much actually. I feel like that's absolutely not what's needed to be kind of trying to do something important. I do really believe the artist's way, the quote from the artist's way, serious art is born from serious play. That's Julia Cameron. I do believe that is, for me, that's been the case anyway. I feel like when I do let myself play with colour and just be a bit frivolous in my work and life and everything, that it's a looser energy and freer and more of a, that's where potential lies really. And curiosity and freedom and surprise, astonishment, and then joy too. Rather than this sometimes this kind of whip-cracking diligence that I want to sit myself down and start a painting and finish it in one sitting. I know that doesn't work for me anymore. Most of the time, you know. There will be times when it's a sensible thing to do if I've got a commission to finish, and I can I can set things up so that I actually feel like doing it. But in general, I do appreciate letting myself respond creatively in whatever way I want to. I'm going to put some of that bright pink. I'm going light-headed after all the blowing. Put some of that bright pink into some of those circles. Sometimes in the morning, if I take the iPad with me or the phone, I don't do that often now, because I noticed that it changed my experience when I knew that there was the possibility of an image being captured. I sometimes would be drawn into that more than the wild expanse of the full thing in front of me. I was drawn into the image captured in the frame. But anyway, I did take it a few times. Obviously, you know that if you read my newsletter, you'll have seen photos from Gladhouse Reservoir. But what I was going to say is that sometimes I've taken pictures there in the sunshine, and there are bright green kind of orb-like things that hang in the air. And I wonder if that's what I'm making here. Bright, colourful circles of light. I guess colour is light anyway, isn't it? It's, you know, that's a chapter in John Donoghue's book on beauty. he has a chapter on colour, and he talks about, I guess, a lovely mystical way of describing colour. I'd recommend, if you haven't got that book before, or if you've got Audible, you know how you can listen to books on Audible, I would recommend getting Beauty, the book called Beauty, The Invisible Embrace, written by Jonathan, and actually it's spoken by him, the audiobook. And it's lovely. But he speaks about each colour in turn. And it's just a very enlightening way to consider different colours. He has a very poetic way of describing why colours are the colour they are, why we perceive them as that, and that it's actually the colour that's rejected by the thing that's actually what we see. All the other colours are absorbed by it. And only the one that's rejected is the one we see, so that's the colour that we call the thing then. Yeah, it's a good old read, or a listen. My style of reading is nowadays to just dip in and out of books. I love certain books, and I love to just dip in and see what messages, rather than sitting down and reading from start to finish. Maybe when I'm maybe when I get significantly older, I might end up sitting on let me just tell you what I'm going to do when I'm older, right? And then it might actually, you know, when you invest in things and it comes to pass, then when you invest emotion in something. So here's today what I envisage happening when I'm like maybe 75 or 80. I see myself sitting on a wooden veranda on a rocking chair with like maybe my aunt's patchwork. You know, my aunt Ellen does amazing patchwork stuff around me, and some beautiful flowers in a vase, and the flowers would be from my own garden. And not only will I have a garden, I'll also have a sea view, or maybe running water. Maybe there'll be a waterfall, and I'll be sitting there. What was I saying when I started this off? For goodness sake, I've lost my train of thought. What was I going to say about my future? Oh well. I was going to be doing something, wasn't I? Sitting in my rocking chair. That's one of the exercises in the Artist Way. She has you write a letter from your 80-year-old self. Is that right? Or maybe it's to your 80-year-old self. I need to look up that book again, because I used to love doing those exercises. It's amazing what keys, you know, what doors opened through those prompts. One of them was list 10 things you loved to do as a child, and now the next thing was, now go and do one of those things, or go some way towards doing it, you know, something similar or something that. So lots of really lovely suggestions in that book. It's a 12-week course if you want to do it that way. And I know some people are put off by this part, but there's a thing too where she encourages you to write morning pages, which is 3 pages of freehand writing, just stream of consciousness, foolscap pages. Excuse me, so really quite a lot of writing. And by the 3rd page, I used to find this was true. She would say by the 3rd page is kind of a voice of wisdom starts to come out. Like she said, you might start off writing half a page of, I don't want to write, I do not want to write. You know, it might be just giving out about having to do it, but she said just do it every day. And I hear it works for some folk. I haven't kept it up myself, but I do love writing as a way of accessing whatever it is that's going on for me, particularly using my left hand. my non-dominant hand, if I want to find out how I'm feeling really, my left hand will do some fantastic drawings of the feeling that I have. Fantastic, or you could call them gruesome, I suppose. A lot of them, like, like, yeah, they're like, if I've got a feeling of a knot in my stomach, there'd be a very clear drawing of a character, usually, who's grimacing in pain at this knot in the stomach. I might show them to you someday. But they're a bit private, really, because they're so extreme. I'd be afraid people would laugh at them. And they're such an important thing. And to me, these drawings really bring me home to myself, because they let me know how I'm feeling in a quite a clear way, without words. Like, sometimes it's with words, sometimes without, but more often I find that drawing the feeling is a particularly good way to gain access to it without the confusion of words coming in. So there's a lot of strange drawings everywhere in my house, in the studio. The children don't seem to bother about them. Like, they don't seem to even look at them. I don't know. I must ask them if they notice. I think they think I'm a little bit deranged at times. Or they probably don't actually think about me at all, really. And I mean that in the best possible way. Like, there's no judgment there. I'd say they just get on with their own lives, to be honest. Which is refreshing. Aaron's got a job as a flight attendant with Ryanair, and this is and it's, again, no, this is not a judgment, but it's on the same week, the same month as I've signed up for Three Sisters. If you don't know, Three Sisters is an organisation headed up by Claire Dubois, who, I think the strapline is like women seeding change. And it's just, I suppose I'm speaking about that in relation to the Ryanair job, because they seem like opposing things, but your life is full of paradoxes, isn't it? And like, my God, I made my decisions as in my life, and I celebrate Erin making her decisions and, finding her way. And brilliantly, she really focuses when she knows she wants something, and there'll be something different another time. But she got herself, she passed her driving test as well, and she's got her freedom and independence that way now as well. So, fair play. Anyway, but Claire talks about it there only being one game now with the planet, no planet B and all that. Claire Dubois, but she's very inspiring. There isn't any kind of, I find that I rarely would come off from a video listening to her with a feeling of despondence. It's more often a feeling of being enlivened and a call to action, but it's not in a kind of a threatening way, a call to action through following whatever you understand your calling to be. Bringing your full self to the table without restriction or without compromise, I suppose, which is something I'm learning. The thing, I read a quote a couple of days ago about disappointment. To disappoint, what was it? Something to do with disappoint others before yourself. I know it sounds really selfish, but it kind of made sense the way that it was phrased now, because I think if we don't, follow our own needs, I suppose, really first and foremost, we can't be in a position to help anyone else. And this thing of betraying our own selves all the time, like, it can only lead to bitterness, really, I think. Betraying ourselves, I don't know. think my genuine acts of kindness come from first having energy myself, most of the time. I think that's true. And then there will be times when kind of have to, life kind of demands that you show up. Other times when you feel like the resources aren't there, and still somehow you kind of fumble through that too. So I suppose there is no one size fits all, is there? How's that looking there now? Yeah, it's a little bit kind of funny, but sure. It feels exciting to me to be doing it this way. And I like that I've been expanding out the way a little bit as well, chatting to you there, because I could have got a bit preoccupied with what to do next, and it's just already happening on its own here now, what to do next. Just meandering out the way into the white space. Might wake up in the morning and hate it. And you know what? I'd still feel like it was worthwhile exercise if that is the case, because I'm enjoying myself right now. So I might go for a swim tomorrow. We'll see. I mostly go when it's a school day, because I can take Lily to school and then go straight for the swim after. Some friends of mine swim in the sea and in rivers. I thought I could do. Maybe I could go to Portobello. Do you know Portobello Beach is fantastic? If you're in Edinburgh, it's a lovely thing to go to Portobello Beach and have yourself a cup of tea or something, looking out from either the beach hut cafe, or Miro's. Is it Miro's? Yeah. I went to Miro's with Erin last week, and we had a lovely lunch overlooking the sea. There's something about that outlook of horizon and sky and all the light of the sea and the sky, and then something nice to eat, all at the same time. That's pretty well heaven to me, blissed out. And then having a walk on the beach, like Portobello's lovely for clearing the cobwebs, I think. I suppose we all have our own memories of places, but to me it feels like that's a really light-filled space. I suppose it reminds me a bit of my own childhood seaside excursions, which happened pretty much every day in the summertime. We were within walking distance, like, of the beach, so once we were old enough to walk down, we used to just go to the strand all day. That's what we called it, the strand, not the beach. And then I was thinking about this yesterday. My mum used to bring us over like a flask of tomato soup. I think this is my memory, at least. Maybe it happened once, you know the way, but I remember in the summer being on the beach. Probably my sister Maura would have brought us over, because we would have been fairly young as far as I remember. So my sister would have had to walk us over, and she would have been in charge, Maura or Eileen. And then at the end of the day, my mum would come over with a flask of tomato soup, and we would be starved, and it would be lovely after all the swimming and everything to tuck into some tomato soup. I mean, she used to cook lovely stews and things as well, but it's the tinned tomato soup I remember from those excursions. She'd be starving after the sea, wouldn't she? It's like where I've got my workshops now in Cookenzie, you know, and that's on the seaside. And there's a lovely feeling of clean sea air. And one of the things I love is being able to swim when we're doing workshops in the summer school and things, it's lovely to have the opportunity to go for a swim in the sea before or after, or both. I find it a lovely reset to kind of settle myself back down, because I get nervous enough when I'm teaching. I think it's a funny thing, like, I've been at it long enough now, but there is a feeling of nervousness around not wanting to be stuck in my ego of wanting things to be, wanting to look important and all that, you know, and to get it right. It's this feeling of getting it right. And I feel so important that I not do that, because I want folk in the workshop to feel like there is no one right way, do you know? So that's why I suppose I get myself sometimes head up, and a good dip into the cold water is often all it takes to dissipate that carry-on. In fact, on day one, I'll usually make time on the first day to have a swim in the sea before we start. So I've just put in place a couple of workshops. I need to actually check that the dates are available now in March. I'm going to do a flower painting workshop there in Kilkenzie, and in it's in March, and in February I'm going to do a watercolour portraiture workshop. There'll be 2 weekend workshops. If I was I thought about it in advance, I could have turned off the video and turned it back on again after 15 minutes or something. In fact, I could do that now, couldn't I? I could let you go now I could let you head off and have a cup of tea or something. I don't know. Again, I'm going to start talking about people watching. I don't know if you listen or watch or whatever, but sure. Maybe speed it up. That's what I do myself. When I'm checking it out after, sometimes I speed it up to, I don't watch the whole thing again. I've already been through it once. But what I was thinking is, if I stop it now, I can start another one there for 15 minutes and stick it on Instagram maybe. Because despite feeling like I was just going to do a few minutes, I actually have been drawn into this again now. So 57 minutes. So I'll see you next time. There's my heart up there, look. Alright, all the best.